This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
7:34. Welcome back. And my favorite segment of the week where we talk about the issues making headlines with members of the younger generation getting their feedback. Joined this morning with Josh Blevins, former Young Democrats of Arkansas president and Blevins Investment Group chairman, and Jack Avery, Young Republicans of Arkansas chairman and key account manager at Rich Products Corporation. Josh and Jack, great to have you here.
Good morning.
And the big news came down late yesterday dealing with the voter ID law. The Arkansas Supreme Court struck the law down, saying that it was unconstitutional, and this was a law that required voters to present photo identification before casting a ballot, and will have a big impact with early voting starting next week and the election 19 days away. Jack, your thoughts on this?
Well, obviously, I disagree with the findings of the court system, and there have been many times that I've had disagreements with the court system, but I will say this. I support the system in general. It's the best in the world. That said, the finding of the court determined that there are 4 qualifications to vote in the state of Arkansas, none of which being having a voter identification. So proponents of this law now really have 2 options. The first one is to propose a ballot initiative in the next election cycle to amend the Constitution to require IDs to vote and let the people decide. And the other option is you realize that our state Supreme Court justices are elected, and you can go out and seek qualified candidates to potentially run against these candidates if you feel that you disagree with them in a large scenario of their findings.
Josh?
Republicans in the Arkansas General Assembly decided to monkey with the most sacred right of citizens in a democracy, that of voting, and the Arkansas Supreme Court, both its conservative and its liberal members, unanimously said that's wrong. The state constitution lays out 4 criteria for voting. You've got to be a U.S. citizen. You've got to be an Arkansas resident. You've got to be 18 years old, and you've got to be registered to vote. And it imposes no additional restrictions. And the Supreme Court said that any additional restrictions to that are unconstitutional. The Constitution has served us well for over 150 years, and there's no reason to go changing it now.
Yeah.
You're right, Josh, and that's why we have a legal process in the state of Arkansas and in the United States. So that's why if the proponents of voter ID laws, myself included, want to see that requirement changed, there is a process to go ahead and do that, and that is to get a ballot measure put on the ballot in the next election cycle to make it a constitutional amendment and let the entire state of Arkansas make the determination on whether identification should be required at the voting booths.
And that's probably good Republican politics, because Republicans are terrified that somebody might vote for a Democrat that's not supposed to be voting for a Democrat. But as Mike Beebe said, and the court cited, this is a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. It made the news earlier this year when Republican gubernatorial candidate Asa Hutchinson, who was a big supporter of the voter ID requirement, went to vote in the primary, and the staffer who was in charge of keeping up with his wallet left it back at the office. He had to send another staffer back to the office to retrieve it. Now, for the average Arkansas worker who may go to the polls on his lunch break, he doesn't have a staffer that he can send back to say, hey, I'm going to stay in line. You go retrieve my wallet so I can vote. Do I think Asa Hutchinson should have been allowed to vote even though he forgot his wallet? Absolutely I do. And every Arkansan should have that same right.
I think
my biggest concern, Josh, is more with the Hudson Halams of the world that coercively try to purchase votes or engage in fraudulent activity to get themselves elected. That is what the law initially was set up to prevent from happening in the future, and that's my biggest concern on any election day.
There is absolutely zero about a voter ID law that prevents the Hudson Hallam scenario from occurring. This is about requiring people, to purchase a state ID.
So no, they're free. They're free. The voter ID cards are free. Just want to
Sure, but with getting you have to buy a driver's license. You have to take time off work to go down to the DMV or wherever to get your voter ID card. But in 1964, the court said in Faubus v. Miles that any additional requirements, even if they are free, the state tried to impose a free poll tax. Even if they cost the voter nothing, they're blatantly unconstitutional. In 1865. The court said in the case of Risen v. Farr that the state legislature could not impose any additional requirements on folks to vote. They tried to keep former Confederates from voting, and the court said that was wrong. There's 150 years of precedent on this issue, and the court unanimously made the correct decision.
I will allow everyone to speak their mind and have their opinion, but we'll inject the fact in here. That's one of the key components of this, with the voter ID cards are free of charge, so there's no fee there. We're going to take a break, and we will have Josh and Jack back after this break and talk about another big story, a big concern across the country, and this is the growing fear with Ebola. And the president canceled a fundraising trip yesterday and today to address this, to calm some fears of people across the country. So we'll take a break and be back to discuss that here on Young Guns. This segment of the Alice Stewart Show brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all of your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.